I'm Dr. Danite, and this is the Bliss Lab, where we approach life as a delicious experiment. From Tantra to embodiment, from polarity to pleasure, we're here to study bliss, one juicy conversation at a time. Hello, my loves. Welcome to the very first episode of the Bliss Lab. I'm Dr. Danite. And this space I'm creating here with you, this sacred and curious and experimental space, is birthing right alongside me. And I'm rebirthing myself because I burned my entire life down about 2 years ago, a life that I had spent many years building, striving, achieving, caring, giving, a 20-year journey of creating this life that I thought was it, until it was not, until it became very clear. And it showed me it was not. I wanted it so bad to continue to be the way because I knew that way, but my body told me differently. And wisdom started coming through me that I could not deny. And through that breakdown, that sacred crisis, we all know a breakdown, or maybe we don't all know. I didn't know. The crisis, the problems, the breakdowns, they're juicy. They're juicy. They're full of richness. They are the divine jerking our chains saying, pay attention. And I'd like to share some of that story with you because woven through the story, you'll get more of what I'm really about, what I'm seeking, what I'm creating, what beliefs I've adopted, what I have learned, what I'm still struggling in, what I'm curious about. And if that speaks to you, maybe you have a similar story, maybe you feel stirrings inside, let's go through this together. It wants to be shared. That's all I can say. Creating the Bliss Lab was literally living one of my new principles that I'm adopting of follow the nudges, follow the urges, and don't ask too many questions. It's part of my experiment. I treat life like a science experiment. Change a variable and notice how life feels. What are the outcomes? How's that working? Maybe I'll adopt that as a belief now. So the latest one that I've been adopting for a few months now is like, just do what comes through your body as a yes. And don't run it through the cognitive too much. Don't spend too much time asking, well, how's it going to work? Is it going to make money? Am I going to be good at it? Fuck that. It's just my body says, yes, there's an inclination to start this podcast. There's something that wants to come through. So I used to have it all figured out before I would start something. And now I got no clue. I'm just here following that nudge, opening my heart to you, opening my story to you, and sharing my journey with you in hopes of it creating synergy, community, connection, inspiration. I know so many women that have gone through such similar journeys. Let's do it together. If you're like me, you love breaking things down and analyzing the fuck out of everything, join me. Let's do it together. I'm coming up with some really interesting downloads and interesting and outcomes and interesting understandings about how this whole thing works. So let me share my story a little bit with you and kind of walk you through a bit of what I've gone through and am going through, and more of where I'm at now and what this podcast will really be focused on. So, my journey coming into adulthood was kind of intense. I was on this my parents were not academically driven. They did not, persuade me or encourage me to have a strong academic career, but I just went from high school to college, from college right to medical school, and medical school right into all kinds of adulthood. There was no breather, there was no exploration, there was no break. That was my journey. And I dance between feeling like I have regret about that and not taking a year to travel or taking some space to explore the world or figure out who the fuck I am. I dance between regretting that and believing it all went perfectly. The jury's still out on that. But, after college, I thought I wanted to be a nutritionist. And I spoke to my family's nutritionist. I was really into health. My family was really into health and wellness, and I was always an athlete. And I talked to our family's nutritionist, and she's like, well, if I could do it all over again, I'd be a naturopathic doctor. I'm like, well, what the hell is that? And I looked it up, and it was like the lights, the sun came out, the lights came on. It was like a full yes, like there's a degree for this, and it's a doctorate, and this is using nature as medicine and helping people heal themselves. And I get to learn all these different modalities. It was just absolutely yes. I didn't even really look into it that much to understand exactly what it was. I kind of get like that. I just did it. And I applied to one school in Arizona because the other two were in Portland and Seattle, and I'm love the sun. So I came into naturopathic medical school as a 21-year-old girl. And man, was this education incredible. I just ate it up. The things we were learning, we were applying them to our lives. You know, one of the tenets, one of the philosophies of naturopathic medicine that I hold so dear is physician heal thyself. It's the understanding that you can't take someone where you haven't been, and experiencing things for yourself and living the philosophies, walking the talk, not just throwing a bunch of protocols at somebody. It's something that makes naturopathic medicine so beautiful, and authentic. And and the principles of using nature and not doing harm and stimulating healing in the body. And this spans all different modalities. And, you know, those 4 years were so much development for me as a woman, as someone who learned about how to care for herself. And I made lifelong friends that are now my family. It felt God guided. Um, Back then, I didn't really have I had some connection to the divine, but I would feel these moments and I knew something was going on, that naturopathic medicine fell into my lap like this. And without doing much research, I just applied and went there. And to see what it's become in my life, these are the little stirrings of the divine at work when I was a novice at understanding how loved we are by the universe and how guided we always are by the divine. And I grew up a lot in naturopathic medical school. All my friends were so much older than me. Most of them had had other careers before attending naturopathic medical school. So I was always the baby. And I really learned, and I, you know, moved across the country from New York, where I was raised, and lived alone and loved it and had this incredible community of friends. And every day was a different adventure with, you know, trying different, you know, therapies on each other, and hot and cold therapy and acupuncture, and giving each other gyne exams. I mean, there was nothing off limits. And I ate it up and I loved it. And from there, I'd met my now husband in medical school. And, you know, you just kind of keep moving along the conveyor belt. You know, that's how it felt like to me. Like, okay, I've graduated and I did a residency there here in Arizona, and I started building a patient base. And you just, each step just kept happening. It just felt like I just kept moving to the next obvious step, where Eric and I got more serious. We got married. And I was practicing at the clinic at the naturopathic medical school. And then I was like, decided I want to open my own practice. And Eric decided to join me, and we were going to open a practice together. And I mean, this is crazy. The week we opened Arizona Natural Health Center, back then it was called Naturopathic Health Associates. What a terrible name. But we opened it like a week before I gave birth to our first child. Like, what the hell? I had no regard for my capacity or my bandwidth or what I could handle. It was always just, you just rise to the occasion. You just do the thing. And so we did. We opened the practice. Levi was born a month later, and it began. The on-ramping to the next 18 years of trying to be it all, do it all, be everything to everyone, be really good at everything, and look good doing it. And it was a lot. It was a lot. starting a new business, bringing on other doctors, figuring out how to be a new doctor, figuring out my way of practicing medicine, wanting my patients to get better, loving the medicine so much, loving seeing the results I was getting. But as a new doctor, you have to study a lot. And each patient was like hours for me, and I had a new baby. And, you know, it's just interesting to reflect back on like, who thought that would be a good idea? It's like what I never regarded on this journey is my well-being, like my peace, Like, can I do it? Yeah, I can do it. I can do it. I can make it happen. But will I be peaceful? Will I be grounded? And so that just continued, and our business grew, and we had another baby, and the responsibilities at the center grew as it became, a bigger and bigger practice. And the kids were getting older, not getting much sleep in the beginning, having to really show up at work, and expanding and expanding and expanding to take on more. And it once you're in, you're in. Like, there was no moment to even stop the train. And I didn't, reflecting back, I knew I was suffering. Did I? I knew I wasn't okay, but the only solution I could come up with is be more efficient, be more strategic, get more done in less time, be more organized. And then, oh my God, my to-do lists. I look at these books that I find, these journals of like work to-do lists, home to-do lists, crossed off, next page, like pages and books of these lists of managing the tasks of our life. And it really took a strain on our marriage. There was a lot of love, and we both were just stressed out of our minds, and we both handle stress differently. And, all the relationships in my life, an imbalance within me that I've now discovered that really compounded the stress of that time is that I had this idea, this kind of winning formula, this way of living that was like this: if I can make everybody okay, then I'm okay. And I was really good at making people okay. I'm very aware of people. I'm very aware of where they're at, if they're okay, if they're not okay, what's going on, and what they need. And because I would just have this amazing capacity, I would just kind of make up the delta between me and this other person. I would absorb it. I would just reduce my needs. I would just say it doesn't matter. I wouldn't want to ruffle feathers. And I just created many relationships where I was the one caretaking and overlooking the things that bothered me. And it was anything I could do, just be okay. I just need you to be okay. And a really interesting journey with that, because I used to think I was just really nice. Like, I was really sweet and really kind and really giving. And I thought I was just really sweet and nice. And then I'm like, oh, I'm just an empath. I just feel everybody's everything. And I'm learning to deal with that. And as I continue to evolve and mature as a woman, I started to realize that, well, one, it comes from trauma. Doesn't it all? Doesn't it all? And it comes from trauma. And I had to put together that one of my greater traumas in my life was middle school girls. Man, if you know, you know. I wouldn't sick middle school girls on my worst enemy. They are brutal, brutal. And I experienced that in middle school, where I was ostracized and bullied and cast out and made fun of. I was in, then I was out, then I was in, then I was out. And so I developed, we survive, right? So I developed this thing where I can walk into a room, or I'd have to walk into school every day and scan their faces, these girls, and scan their faces. Are they upset today, or are they good today? Am I in today, or am I out today? And this was like survival. Because as a 7th grade girl, when you're cast out, you might as well just not give me food and water and shelter if you're cutting off my social connection, for any girl around that age. And so I got really good at seeing levels of okayness in them. If they were unhappy or off, my day was ruined. If they were in a good mood, then I was okay. So this is where the trauma really set in motion this way of being for me, where I want to keep people okay because I'm safe. If you're okay, I'm safe. If you're not okay, it could be an abusive day. It could be a day where I'm ostracized, or I walk to the lunch table and everybody gets up and walks away when I get there. Or I get handed a note that says, sign this note if you hate Danite. I mean, nasty. And so I didn't realize that till later, but that fed into me creating unhealthy relationships where I just wanted to keep people okay at the cost of me. So now I'm overgiving. I have 2, 3 full-time jobs. I mean, being a mother, to be any kind of good mother, is a full-time job. To run a household is a full-time job. Then to have a medical practice and my own slew of patients is a full-time job. And then I ran the center. I was the CEO. I managed the bookkeeping. I managed the employees. I managed the marketing. Like, what the hell was I thinking? I look back, like I get exhausted just thinking about it. And the relationships drained me. Everything was draining to me because there was something missing. Me. And I trained my relationships to not have to really regard me. And so this was the journey. And then it just kept going, man. I mean, we adopted this new marketing thing in our practice where I was doing public speaking. And I would do public speaking once a week at 7 o'clock at night after a full day of work. I'd have to put on the tailored Banana Republic dress and the coiffed hair and the pumps and the frickin' navy blazer. There was a lot of navy and there was a lot of slacks. I was in the masculine. And I would go and do these public speaking events at night, and they were like marketing, right? So it's not like I could just show up and educate. I had to be fucking good. I had to move the room. And the topic was exciting because it was all about educating the public on how our current healthcare system's failing them. And that's a really fun topic because it's such a huge problem that I feel really passionate about. But like, oh my gosh, I remember coming home from work and like getting the kids food and like, Eric, can you please try and be home? I have to go to this public speaking event. Like we're both juggling way too many balls and like getting to this public speaking event, like exhausted, like shoving B vitamins down my throat and like cognitive aminos and any supplement that would help my brain work better. And then have to turn it on at 7 o'clock at night. I am not a night person. I am such a morning person. And so you get the point. It didn't end. I had no limit. And this might be controversial, but this is where I'm landing. Like, it's unkind to a woman to think we're supposed to be okay working and raising our kids. I felt like I was failing at everything. I never felt like I could feel proud of what I was doing because no matter where I was failing at something. That's what I felt. And I am a triple Virgo, so I'm open to my standards being an issue there. But it just in reflection, I have so much compassion for women, and we look around and so many women are living this life and running at this level. So we think it's normal and we think we should. And there's almost like well, look what I can do. Fuck that. We're not regarding our peace, our nervous systems, our hormonal balance. So this went on. You get the idea. It was a lot, and I basically lived it to its death. I'm pretty tenacious, can do, will do. It's the thing that made us money and brought us success, and we were doing the thing that we really loved. We were getting people better, and oh my God, that never gets old, that people are better for real. And I just, towards the end of that stint, I started, plant medicine entered my realm. I'd sat an ayahuasca ceremony or two, and I started reading, getting more into spiritual texts and starting to learn about the feminine and the masculine and understanding the signature of the feminine, the signature of the masculine, and really starting to like reflect, like, wow, I'm in the masculine, like for real, but I'm a woman. What is becoming more feminine like? And I started taking on more elements of the feminine, how I dressed, honoring my feelings, dancing more, taking a little more space. And And then the word polarity kept coming up. And it was like, that was another thunderbolt. The first time I read polarity, and then I read it again in like the next day, and I'd never seen the word before. And I'm like, what is this? This feels very, very, very important. I don't know if you guys ever have that situation where something crosses your path more than once that you've never seen before in a short amount of time. And for me, it's like, what is this? This wants me. I want this. And so I looked into polarity. I'm like, whoa, okay. This is the attraction. This is the chemistry. This is a law of nature of the masculine and feminine when they're both in their true authentic expression. Uh-huh. And realizing that because I'm in the masculine, and like I said, my husband and I handle stress really differently. He kind of goes inwards, and gets really overwhelmed and starts going 100 miles an hour. I just keep taking on more stuff and taking on more stuff and making sure more people are okay and sacrificing myself more. And this killed our polarity. Once I realized what polarity was, I'm like, oh shit, we don't have any of that. Okay, that helps explain things. And as I started embodying the feminine more and more, my life started to crumble. What I should say, it didn't start to crumble. I started getting these knowings that were coming through me that I was like wanting to deny and shut down, like that I'm basically the whole life I had created. It was starting to be shown to me that none of it was in alignment with me anymore. That's a fucking lot to swallow. This business that was my third child that I'd poured my life into felt done. I was done with it. That was the knowing. That was the truth. That was what came through. Then you come into the reality and like, how the hell am I supposed, like, this is our blood, sweat, and tears. What do you mean I'm done? And then I would look at my husband like, this is done. This rendition of our marriage is no longer healthy. I'm not available for it. I am not, it needs to burn down. That was what came through me. It was that clear. This needs to burn down. What's on the other side of that burn down? No idea. We could get back together. This could be the end. But these knowings and this wisdom was coming through me in this definitive way. It was a new noticing of this type of knowing that would come through me. And it was just truth. It was like unfuckable with. And I didn't like them. I didn't want these truths, but I started to realize it's the truth. Like you start to feel what a truth feels like inside. And then you have to fucking reconcile with the fact that these truths are so disruptive and they're so devastating to the life you've created. And they cause a lot of upheaval. And I tried to suppress them and I tried to say it ain't so, and everything would get worse. And it was just shown to me more and more and more like this has to all change. It all has to be burned down. And you don't get to know what's after the burn down. You don't get to know. So I would pray, show me how this works out. And the guidance I would get is you don't get to know until you let go. Man, that'll tighten your pucker up. Everything I identified as Danite was no longer alive. And the courage, I had to have courage because I wanted to go back pre-awakening and be like, fine, forget it. It's fine. I'm not going to look into all this, these deeper understandings of polarity and the feminine and masculine and actually regard myself. It's okay. Just keep it neat and tidy and let's go back. And like, it was like an iron door slammed shut behind me, welded shut. That was the past. I could not go back. And ahead of me was like a gauntlet where I could die. That's the liminal space between death and rebirth. And the courage I had to muster. The courage I had to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. To walk this path that I've never been down and I have no idea what lies ahead. And all I had were these little knowings and nudges or truths, I won't say little, that would come through me. And now I'm in the feminine. I'm connected to my body and they're coming through my body. It's a yes, it's a no. Why? You don't get to know why. It's a yes, it's a no. And then follow. Shuffling my feet in the dark is the best way I can say it. Just not having any inclination of which direction to go and just having to try things out. It was a lot. I separated from my husband and everything was in a rough spot. And I got this knowing that as much as we were struggling and the business was struggling, and as much as everything was struggling, the separation would bring something better. And the more we lived in the lie, the worse it would get. And I adopted this phrase at that time: the pain of a lie is just pain. The pain of the truth sets you free. There's potential in the truth. It's painful, but you could live the lie, and it's just pain and stagnation. Choose your pain. We're not here on earth for sunshine and rainbows all the time. On earth, our souls come here for the obstacle course of life to evolve the soul. And so separating from Eric it felt like the truest thing. There was no question in my mind. And it was the absolute hardest thing I've ever done in my life. After 18 years of sharing everything with this man, the wisdom was coming through me that it had to die. We had lived into a relationship that was incredibly out of balance and incredibly not honoring to each other in the world. And it wasn't a tweak, and it wasn't an adjustment. It needed to die, and we both needed to have some time on our own. 18 years together and that much stress, there were codependencies, there were patterns that were just unhealthy despite our best efforts, and they weren't tweakable. And he came around and realized that it was time for us to just hold ourselves for a little bit. And I remember saying to him, I can't even figure you out until I get back in my own corner. I need to figure out who I am. I put myself last for so long that I don't even know what I'm offering you as a woman. I'm not whole. And I need to go figure out who I am. And once I find that, I will reacquaint myself with you and see where you're at. And he took that opportunity. Most men would have gotten so resentful and so shitty, and he didn't. He could see, he hated it, but he could see that there were patterns within him, and there was opportunity in this for him to meet some deep, deep parts of himself. So we took the time to do deep work as individuals, and we both had to meet our own pain. Okay, so I originally formulated Bliss and Tallow as a clean, deeply nourishing body butter, using tallow as the main ingredient because honestly, the moisture is unreal. It's rich and not greasy, and it just lasts, like 24 hours lasts. It hydrates deeper into the skin instead of just sitting on top of the skin. Okay, but here's the thing. I didn't just make this for your skin. I also formulated this for your pleasure. So yes, your skin will feel soft and hydrated for hours, but what I really love is hearing all the stories from women who are slowing down and taking their time and actually enjoying the experience of putting it on. From the smell to the texture, the ritual of rubbing it in, it's like your body starts to remember, oh, I get to receive. I get to feel good. Bliss isn't just a feeling, it's a frequency. And this body butter, it helps you tune right into that frequency. So if you're ready to create more moments of softness, sensuality, and self-connection, Bliss and Tallow is your jam. I'm offering you 10% off with code BLISS10 plus 100% satisfaction guarantee because I want nothing to get in the way of you finding your bliss. And not blame it on each other and not look to each other to medicate it, but really hold our own experience and meet the depths of our own souls. And he took advantage of that. He chose that. He rose into that, and it was not easy. He had to go down before he could come back up, but he did. And it was like I always cared so much about everything being okay, and at this point I gave no fucks. That was the problem. I couldn't care if I tried. That's how I knew. This business was everything, and I'm like, shut it down, close it, run it. I don't care. I have nothing. I've never experienced something like that in my life. And so I took the time to be guided by these little knowings, and I just got into bed and I needed so much rest. So much rest. I ate ice cream and I watched Netflix for weeks. I call it a pleasure bomb. It was like the polar opposite of my life up until that point. It was all I could do. And it was like nourishing on some level, like Netflix and ice cream and sleep, repeat. And it was like my nest. It was all I could do. And then slowly I would start being able, like the only thing I could do after that is sometimes get up and dance. And dancing was literally the only thing I could do where I felt a little bit of the divine, where I felt a little bit, I wouldn't even say of okayness, but connection. And then I would get back in bed. And it's like a chrysalis, you're not a butterfly. You're no longer a caterpillar, but you're not yet a butterfly. You're butterfly soup. A dear friend coined that phrase to me. You're butterfly soup. And when you're soup, you're not really a thing. And that's how I felt. I wasn't really here nor there. I was no longer what I was, but I wasn't what I was becoming. Really interesting space, this luminal space between death and rebirth. It's so untethered. It's so interesting. Like I'm just like a breathing body that has no connection to anything. So I had to deepen my connection to myself and to God. And that's all I had. It's me and it's God. And the depth of the relationship I've had to create with myself and with God is a stability inside of me, because now I know no matter what, I've got me and I've got God. I'm whole. And in that time, once I finally was able to function again, a couple things were birthed. Like I had this knowing and I had this clarity that I wanted to study ancient wisdom. I wanted to learn something deep and profound. And Tantra had come across my path. And I was so curious about sexuality, so craving deeper understandings of our sexuality and the sexual potential of our bodies. And, being in chronic stress, I felt like it was a part of me that was underdeveloped. Being in survival, it's not like I was exploring my sexuality with myself or my partner. It was what it was, but I started getting a taste for how much more, how expansive that realm is and how powerful our sexual energy is. And so I decided to study Tantra and I went to Bali and I found my teacher. She's an incredible woman, Ma Ananda Sarita, and she is the real deal. And it's just so powerful to see a around 70-year-old woman, fully embodied, graceful, wise in her sexuality, in her heart, moves like an angel. And I just ate it up. I did a teacher training, and Tantra taught me a lot. Tantra, oh, there's so much I got out of it, but we're going to go into on this podcast a lot about, I'd love to bring you some great conversations about Tantra and go deeper in it. But here I'll just say, you hear the word goddess thrown around a lot, and I use the word, but only after that 4-week training did I really understand what a goddess was. And the path of a goddess is to love themselves, to worship themselves, to honor their own body, to honor their own needs and desires, to love yourself, and only then can you love another. And only then can you love the world. So it kind of gave me a much healthier order of operations, which is not how I lived. Tantra also showed me the power of pleasure. The power of pleasure. Pleasure used to feel like a luxury word. Now, pleasure is a pathway to God, for the feminine especially. Pleasure is our birthright. Pleasure helps women achieve a state of receptivity, of activation, and of connection to the divine. It was like the best news ever after I'd been grinding for years and years and years, and shit was so hard. And it would just think it had to get harder, that when I realized the way to my power as a woman was through pleasure, I was like, am I reading this right? Is this for real? It's really okay? And through my pleasure, I access my power? as a woman? Like, wow. It was too good to be true. A woman trying to be powerful like a man is like a bike trying to be a car. I have no idea if that even translates. It's like not what we're wired for. It's just not how we're wired. So it's going against the grain. So pleasure and then polarity, understanding through the teachings of Tantra, which regard polarity and understanding truly the essence of the signature of the feminine and of the masculine and how those come together, that in our chakra system, each chakra has a masculine or feminine pole. And then in the woman, you focus on different chakras, and on the men on different chakras. When they come together, some are receptive and some are penetrative. I mean, the root chakra is obvious. For the masculine, it's penetrative, and the yoni is receptive. Well, in other chakras, we have that orientation as well. But to understand that and to move from that and to connect to that within yourself and with your partner opens universes of energy and understanding and pleasure and ease. And so Tantra has been a huge part of my life ever since. There's so much I can share about it. People think it's just about sex. It is a pathway. It is a way of life. It is a path to enlightenment. It is a beautiful pathway. And it's one of the few complete systems that regard sexuality along with everything else. A lot of the ancient wisdoms have been sanitized of sexuality because we got all stifled about it and shameful about it, or actually afraid of it, because sexual energy is so powerful. Once people are connected to their sexual energy, they know how powerful they are. And I think that was threatening to certain institutions. And so they sanitized a lot of their teachings of the sexuality, and Tantra does not. And Tantra it's a practice in the day-to-day life. You don't have to go off to some monastery to study Tantra. It's within life that you practice and study this beautiful art. And really teaching me how to be powerful as a woman. You know, I'm from New York. My mother's Israeli. There's a lot of fire. There's a lot of fire in me. It was just misguided. It was misguided. And now I'm learning that that is me. I am powerful. I'm fiery. I have limitless capacity that I used really irresponsibly in my earlier years. And now I'm learning to be powerful as a woman and to work, quote unquote, as a woman, which is really just allowing and being receptive, not grinding and reaching and controlling, but like aligning my body to a state of receptivity through pleasure, through self-connection, through self-awareness, connecting to the divine and attracting and listening and responding and knowing the yeses and the nos. It can be that. It can be easy. And so we can get more into Tantra, but I think that's enough for now. But it's a really beautiful part of my life, and I'm so grateful to have found it. And I mean, there's so much around sexuality that I learned, like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm going to stop here. But there's so much around sexuality. I'm going to have people on where we just talk about feminine sexuality, orgasm, the energetics, like I mentioned, of these chakras, that we can actually have orgasms in every chakra, and on and on and on. So the other really important puzzle piece. Oh, now my son empties the dishwasher. Great. I hope you all can hear it. I've been telling him all day. The other essential piece to my journey is a form of therapy called IFS, internal family systems. And it is an integral part of my rebirthing myself, of the woman I am today. It is a close ally. It is, I don't know where I'd be without it. And this is a system of a form of therapy that regards our parts work, that we are actually made up of a system of parts. And then there is our self, the highest version of us, the wisest version, the unburdened center of us, the divine in us. And IFS absolutely was one of the most integral parts in mine and Eric's separation. We both did deep work with our therapist, our couples therapist, who is a blessing. And we got to really sift apart what's mine, what's yours, what's triggering in me and why, and how does that trigger you. But now it gives me a way of meeting myself with compassion. It breeds a state of internal compassion. Like no matter what dysregulation or level of fuckery goes on inside of me, I have this tool where I can acknowledge it, separate from it, listen to it, validate it, and then love it and parent it from the depths of my heart. And it is so effective. And so I will be talking about IFS on this podcast. I hope to have my therapist on, the one that Eric and I worked with, and many more people that use IFS in different ways in their work or parts work. When I was practicing as a naturopathic doctor, my practice was focused in mental health. It's what I treated. I treated anxiety, depression, eating disorders, OCD, and bipolar for 17 years. And I used a therapy called homeopathy that was very effective in helping rebalance the mind and body. And I referred to a lot of therapy, and I was not impressed with therapy. I'm like, we're not really getting anywhere. EMDR, I was impressed with as a therapy for trauma, but IFS is another realm. It's another realm. When I talk about the potency and the efficacy, like the outcomes, like it moves the needle. It's not just talking about it. It's not just, whatever. It is getting to the root of the root. And it's so empowering because I can handle my own feelings. I can handle things. And this is part of, which I'll get to, the bliss codes that are coming through me. Like, just if I can create a way where I'm good within me and I don't need things to go a certain way outside of me to be okay, that's an element of bliss, that I am whole and complete. And I'm not in need of anything external to be okay because I've got myself. And IFS is such an important part of that. So now I am stepping back into the world slowly. I am listening to nudges. I am listening to inclinations. It's going really well. It feels slow and I want to judge the timing, but I've learned it's not on my time. It's on the time. It's on the divine timeline. And so, my New Yorker Israeli is like, let's go. What are we doing? Let's get on it. And my new wisdom is like, trust. And I've deeply learned that my suffering, when I'm in a state of suffering, I'm resisting. I think pain in life is inevitable, but suffering is a choice. And when I'm suffering, I'm like, what am I resisting? So acceptance is the opposite of resistance. And acceptance really implies a great trust to something greater that's actually puppeteering this whole thing, the divine composer, orchestra director of life that isn't bound by time and space, allowing that energy to guide me. And through that, some really cool shit has happened. In my total chrysalis butterfly soup phase, I couldn't do anything. But one thing that came through me is I want to make something. I used to make herbal medicine and body lotion. And my husband is a brilliant mind and keeps our house real tight on the nutrition side and has really high standards for what our family eats, which I'm really grateful for. And tallow has been in our life. And I started seeing that he was buying this tallow moisturizer. I'm like, wait, I can make that. I think I want to make that. And I did. And I made this whipped, luxurious, amazing tallow moisturizer that melts into your skin. And I somehow gave it a flair of sensuality. This vanilla that I found was floral and mild. It's not cupcakey. It's somehow more floral. I don't know. It's delicious. And it worked beautifully with the ingredients, which are coconut oil and beeswax and tallow. And I found a grass-fed butcher and I get it local and it's all yummy. And this butter I made for me, gave it to some friends. They lost their minds. They wanted to give it to other friends. They wanted to start buying it. So it had a life of its own. I followed this nudge. I made it and it took on a life of its own. And it showed me it wanted to be a business. And so I built a website at my kitchen table. Never did that before. And I I just started figuring it was all out of pleasure. It was all out of like yumminess. It was out of excitement. It wasn't a grind. And I was like noticing what it felt like to create a small business from pleasure. I felt like the universe was throwing me a softball, like practice, because I can't go back. I won't go back. And so that has grown into Bliss and Tallow, and it's carried by many yoga studios and naturopathic doctors' offices, and I have an online store. And because it's so yummy and delicious, I used it as a sensual product. I used it in self-care and to learn to receive my own touch as I rubbed it on slowly, and in my self-pleasure practice, in reawakening my yoni and my sensuality, and using the butter as a conduit for that contact and that slowness. And it's so tactile and gorgeous, and it melts right into the skin, because tallow is like the same molecular structure as your skin, or very similar. So I started sharing that with women and giving it to the couples that I work with. Like, they want to bring sensuality and intimacy to another level. And so that has been really fun, and it's completely found me. And after I stopped practicing for a while, I still had a handful of clients, and I kind of turned it into, I don't know. I don't know what to call myself. It's like life coaching, doctoring, sex, love, and relationship guidance. It's really around intimacy, polarity, sexuality, self-empowerment. I trained myself in IFS. I took all the courses. I eat it up, and I do IFS with my clients and Tantra practices. And so I'm kind of letting it just form. I'm kind of getting over not knowing what to call myself. It's been Dr. Danite now. It used to be Dr. Haller. Dr. Haller died. She was amazing, and she had great Banana Republic clothes, and a lot of navy, but she's all done. And now it's Dr. Danite. That's what I'm calling myself now. But that's the work I'm doing, and I'm slowly creating from my heart and from my feminine. And I'm in this experiment. I treat everything like an experiment. How do I operate myself? What are my beliefs? What are my thought patterns? What are my boundaries to maintain self, now re-engaging in life and people and relationships and commitments and obligations? How do that's why I do appreciate how slow it's going, so I can really be discerning of not losing myself and not overcommitting. If anything, I'm very cautious. I have like a protector part that won't let me take on too much, because it's so afraid I'm going to go back into chronic stress. I have to work with that part. Like, we got to do a little more. And so the Bliss Lab encompasses all of these things. There's so much I've learned that I call codes. They're bliss codes. They are beliefs, they are understandings of the workings of this world. There are ways of interacting with energy and with people, ways of regarding self, that I have found to be codes to maintain a blissful state. Bliss is a frequency that is available to all. It's always there, but we can tune into it or not. And these are ways that I found to tune into it. So I will do podcast episodes on all the different bliss codes that have come through me. And I would love to also say that, after our separation, and after us doing, Eric and I, my husband, and after us, letting go completely and having our own experiences and totally being sovereign and re-finding ourselves, we refound each other, and we've rechosen each other. There's such power in choice. I was like, I don't want to be with you because I've been with you, or because I'm stuck with you, or because I'm scared. I want to be with you because you are the most alive thing there is, because I would pick you out of a crowd of men. That's how alive I want my relationship. And he agreed, and we went on that journey, and we re-chose each other. And so I say I've been married twice to the same man. And the old marriage is complete. We did a ceremony, and I had kept the rose that he proposed to me with, 20 something years ago. And we respectfully burned it in a ceremony, really completing that marriage and honoring all that it was and all the beauty that was in it and all the lessons, and really letting that marriage go and opening a new portal of energy for this relationship, opening new potentials for the new people we are now, and really looking at each other, like always allowing the potential of who you're becoming. I'll never say I fully know him. I know him 60%. I'll allow him to fill in the 40 all the time. And that's a precious teaching that I learned from a dear friend as well. And I'm holding that dear. So this is the vibe. You're getting to see where I've been, what I'm about, what I want to talk about. I want to discover, I want to explore, I want to talk to other people on this journey or any journey similar that can tell me what they figured out, what they've identified, what it took, and just to have that moment of understanding the courage and the acknowledgement. And I have the utmost respect for anyone that leans into the pain of the truth. I say I'm a slut for the truth. I am a truth whore. I just want the truth at whatever cost, because the lie, the stagnation and the suppression and the funk of a lie, I won't do it. It's suffocating. So maybe I'm a glutton for punishment, but I'm here for the truth. I'm a deep truth seeker. And so if you feel any of that stir, anything within you, I invite you to join me. Keep track of this podcast, see what we're up to and what we talk about. We're decoding bliss. One conversation, one insight, one delicious experiment at a time. So thank you for being here, for opening your heart to this. Whether you're also in a rebirthing experience or there's something stirring inside of you, welcome. This is the Bliss Lab. Let's begin.